Senator Payman.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. My questions relate to the documents prepared by Salesforce entitled Confidential Annexure E, containing the 118 largely undisclosed gifts from Salesforce to NDIA staff between 2019 and 2023. This, along with other documents I'll refer to, were already tabled in accordance with Order for Production of Documents number 36, which I moved on 28th of July 2025. In a letter to the Secretary of the Department of Finance dated 28th of May 2024, the CEO of NDIA wrote, and I quote, 23 NDIA staff are alleged to have received gifts and benefits, mostly in the form of hospitality, to the value of $15,142.64 from Salesforce, end quote. Are these figures, both the number of staff involved and the total value of gifts received, still accurate?
Senator Payman, thank you. It's Sam Porter from the NDIA. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. I have to be careful in how the agency responds to questions on matters relating to Salesforce, because these are still matters that are subject to active law enforcement referrals, as well as investigations that the agency is currently undertaking. So I actually can't answer your question because those investigations remain underway.
Could you at least give us the facts of what you've got? So, again, the reference to the 23 NDIA staff and the value of $15,142.64. Can you confirm that they remain accurate?
I can't confirm that they remain accurate, Senator Payman, because those matters still remain subject to active investigations. What I will say is that the agency was horrified when these allegations, when we became aware of these allegations, and what we did in response was immediately start our own investigations, and ultimately we made law enforcement referrals to our colleagues at the National Anti-Corruption Commission, the Australian Federal Police, and to ASIC as well.
Thank you. There's a few questions, and again, we'll go through them, and if you can't answer them, you can't answer them. The letter continues, and I quote, "This included the provision of hospitality worth over $9,000 to an SES level labour hire employee who has since left the agency," end quote. Is this employee referred to in the annexure as Representative 2? If not, what pseudonym was used to refer to them?
It may be that some of these questions need to be taken on notice, Senator Payman, for the reasons that Mr Porter has already identified to you. I think he has tried to be transparent with you that there are some constraints on what he should disclose publicly, and so Mr Porter may need to take some of the matters that you're asking him on notice so he can just consider what can appropriately be provided to the committee.
That's awesome.
Yep, no, that's fine. I mean, if you can take it on notice, you can just say you can take it on notice, and that's totally cool. Am I correct in understanding that this particular employee was chair of the evaluation committee that selected Salesforce for the CRM contract? I
will have to take that on notice.
In the ministerial submission MS23-00051, that's 4 zeros, 51, prepared for then Minister Shorten, it says, and I quote, "Following a preliminary assessment of this staff member's conduct, the NDIA is issuing a limited tender to 7 suppliers for an audit and investigations into all Salesforce procurements," end quote. What is the status of this audit, and have you had any changes to contracts with Salesforce as a result of this? Because, you know, you referred to internal investigations. What's the update on the audit?
Yes, thanks, Senator. That audit is part of the broader investigations that we have underway into both gifts and benefits conferral on agency officials, as well as historical procurements and the integrity issues associated with historical procurements of Salesforce contracts. No changes to Salesforce contractual arrangements have arisen as a consequence of those investigations to date, except that, of course, the agency is very deliberately considering and working through the consequences as they emerge through our investigations.
So, just as a point of clarification, have the audit and investigations been complete? And if so, when? No, they're ongoing.
No, they have not been completed, but we are expecting them to complete by the end of this year, this calendar year.
Okay. It's also interesting that there's no consequences in contractual agreements with Salesforce. Can you please...
Senator, I might just jump in there and say it's not to say that there are not consequences for Salesforce, and in fact, in response to the allegations that we became aware of, we have had an active dialogue with Salesforce, and we have sought assurances from Salesforce about their own ethical conduct. We have also been out to market recently, and we have had some changes incorporated into our contracts with Salesforce that directly address these issues. So, for example, the contracts we have with Salesforce now include a commitment from Salesforce to comply with the Commonwealth's Supplier Code of Conduct, which was a promise that we had not had from them before.
Can you please provide for each of the representatives referred to in Annexure E the total value of gifts they received, the proportion of that value for gifts that went undisclosed, and whether they still work at the NDIA? And you can take that on notice.
I'll take that on notice, thanks.
The NDIA CEO's letter notes that a referral to the National Anti-Corruption Commission has been made, and you've made that reference earlier, and that the agency was considering a referral to the AFP or ASIC. Have those referrals been made to date, and can you give me the dates of when those referrals were made?
Thank you, Senator. All of those referrals have been made. The date was in June 2024.
12th of June 2024. Senator, it's the 12th of June 2024.
To both AFP and ASIC?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
Senator, I think you understand this already by the nature of your question, but it is perhaps just worth confirming the circumstances that have led to these investigations being initiated. In December 2022, the former Minister for the NDIS appointed Dr Ian Watt to lead an independent review of Services Australia and NDIA procurement and contracting, and that was to examine a whole series of issues that had been raised in the media regarding former Minister Roberts. Dr Watt completed a very important review. It is incredibly important that government contracting operates with integrity, and we're very grateful for the work that he did. It revealed a number of additional issues which the agency then decided that they wished to investigate, and the processes you have been asking about are directly related to those subsequent investigations. They follow from work that was initiated by the former minister in response to media issues that were raised in the media.
Aside from conversations, what additional disciplinary action has the NDIA considered following these investigations that are still ongoing, or what do you anticipate to, impose?
Senator, as CEO, we, acting CEO and the leadership team, take this very, very seriously. On all of those matters have all been undertaken as an APS Code of Conduct review. I won't go through the individuals, of course, but every single person who was identified or as part of that has been either sanctioned or there are actions underway through an APS Code of Conduct review.
And internally, what changes has the NDIA made to address, what some would categorise as an obviously embedded culture of non-compliance with its finance policies?
Senator Payman, I think it's important to point out, firstly, that this conduct and the allegations that we became aware of are limited to a very small number of employees within the agency and within a specific group of the agency. That's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I'd say is that only a number of those employees subject to the list that are included in the list to which you refer remained active employees or labour hire staff at the agency at the time that we became aware of that list. The third thing I'd say is that we have made a number of changes since the time of the original Salesforce contracts to the way that we procure and the way that our processes protect the integrity of procurements. And most recently, we have made changes to our gifts and benefits policy for NDIA staff. That policy also applies to labour hire workers, and that puts much stricter guardrails in place to ensure that officials only accept gifts in very limited circumstances, with the starting principle that thank you is enough, and as a general principle, staff should decline offers of gifts and benefits of the nature that we saw from Salesforce originally.
And in terms of when it comes to disclosures, what's the time frame? Like how soon, how quickly are they required to make those disclosures?
Staff are now required to make disclosures of gifts and benefits offered to them within 5 business days of the offer.
And what's the value that ranges?
Any value.
Any value. Great. That's all from me for now, Chair. Thank you.